Welcome to this week's Goalmouth Action podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton, Hove, Albion, at Crawley Town and Sport in Sussex. I'm Matt Powell, and I'm joined by Brighton, Hove, Albion writer Derren Howard and Crawley Town expert Mark Dunford. The Seagulls were held to a 1-1 draw at Sean Dyche's Everton on Saturday. The Toffees took the lead through Vitaliy Mykolenko before an Ashley Young own goal helped the Seagulls claim a point. We'll pick over the bones of a second consecutive score draw for Albion, reflect on a mixed week for Crawley Town in the Cups, and bring you news of how two of our non-league sides fared in the first round of the FA Cup. You can read all the stories we are talking about with videos and pictures online at sussexworld.co.uk/sport, and you can check out other great videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. Ashley Young's own goal 6 minutes from time saw the Seagulls take a share of the spoils at Goodison on Saturday. Sum that result up for us, Derren. I think we all knew that it was going to be a tough one.
Yes, yeah. Everton had been on a decent run of form, but Brighton, they played really well. They dominated the possession. I think at one stage it was 80% possession to Brighton throughout the match, and it was one of those where they just had to keep on going, and in the end it was a deflected effort from Karol Matoma, which gained them a point. And they probably deserved more. Lewis Dunk had a goal ruled out, which is pretty harsh from VAR as well. But overall, I think a good point. Expectations are quite high at Brighton at the moment, and some fans are even critical of how they're going at the minute. But I think when you look at it overall, they're seventh in the league. They've had injuries. They've had to bed in new players. They've lost two of their best players. They're going into the Europa League. So I think seventh place overall. Back-to-back draws against Fulham and Everton are slightly disappointing, but overall pretty solid from Brighton, really.
Can I just point out? If you go back to Steve Bone's prediction corner last week, I predicted exactly what happened. Everton score early, Brighton will tie, and they'll get a goal right at the end to get an equaliser. Go back and see it, people.
Did you also predict the VAR, Mark?
No. You can never predict VAR, Matt. You're a fool if you are.
VAR is an absolute lottery. But
wow, that's an absolutely brilliant segue there. VAR again, as you mentioned, Darren, was the main focus of conversation. As you said, Lewis Dunford made it 1-1 in the first half with a stunning volley from Casco Gross's free kick. You say that they feel rightly aggrieved with that decision, Darren.
Yeah, it was a great volley, wasn't it? It was so harsh to rule it out as well. It was such a good goal, and it would probably been one of the best goals of Lewis Dunk's career. And to rule it out on just a fraction of a millimetre, depending on which way you look at the line or which way the camera angle. They're saying that they've only got certain camera angles at Goodison Park, so it was a real harsh one, I think. And, Brighton have had their issues with VAR in the past. I remember reporting on going to Tottenham last season, and they had about 3 or 4 big calls that went against them. And at the time, they were, at the top of it was sort of for a race for a top 4 spot. They were well in the Champions League race. And, so you could say that they've had a few harsh decisions from VAR, and it's really cost them over the last few months. They've received apologies for there, but another one that went against them. But I think looking at Arsenal, looking at Tottenham, Brighton, certainly, they're not the only ones as well.
That's we should put out a statement, Brighton. Yeah, that's what I say.
I know. Follow Mikel Arteta, but I saw that Arsenal backed him up, didn't they? The club went out a statement back with Mikel
ridiculous.
Arteta.
Utterly ridiculous, but there you go. That's a whole different podcast, isn't it?
It is.
I was going to ask, chaps. I know that we've spoken about before, but what is VAR damaging the game? Is there any benefit to it at the moment, apart from making referees targets? It seems.
I quite enjoy it. I know that's bad, and a lot of fans will probably give it. I mean, watching Tottenham Chelsea the other night, it's one of the best experiences I've ever had of watching a football match. I absolutely loved it, but I can see why it's frustrating. It needs to be sorted out. Something needs to be done to make it work better for teams. But, I mean, like you mentioned, Lewis Dunk's volley, Eric Dyer got ruled out, possibly what could have been one of the goals of the season as well, didn't he, in that Chelsea game? Similar, great volley. But I don't know what can be done, though, because they're trying to make it work. But there needs to be better communication throughout the game. I mean, the fact that you've got Gary Neville when he's commentating, he knows what's happening before anyone else, it seems.
Yeah.
And he's I can't remember which game was it. I think it was the Tottenham Liverpool game. He was calling it a goal. He said, "Oh, it's going to be a goal. It's going to be it's going to be disallowed." Sorry. And before anyone else even knew, and it's sort of like a bit of a spoiler from Gary Neville, but it's ridiculous that they're getting it before anyone else. Yeah. But I don't know what you think, Derren. Okay.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's absolutely, it's the people that paid the good money to be in the stadium at the time, and they're clueless. They have no idea what's going on. And you're just left, do you celebrate? Do you not celebrate the goal? So I think for the fan experience in the stadium, I think that really needs to improve. And I quite like personally when in the Women's World Cup, when they were going over to the monitor, then the referee would explain their decision. The crowd were all involved and they could see what was going on. So I don't know whether they could look at that. But, I saw a quote from Brendan Rodgers saying that, it's made football become more like a computer game, which I can see his point, but lots to improve and lots to chew over.
Now, the last thing on VAR, you mentioned there that another con is that the Goodison Park, was it you said didn't have the lines for that angle at VAR? So if it wasn't could you explain that a little bit, Derren, first?
Yeah, they only have certain camera angles at Goodison Park, and various stadiums they'll have one camera angle at one stadium, and then if the camera's not set up in the correct place, where they draw the lines may not actually be in line with where the incident has occurred. So the people in VAR are looking at it from a sort of a weird angle. So
that's farcical, isn't it? It's absolutely farcical.
Yeah. Does that not mean that if teams playing in certain stadiums that have certain angles are at more of an advantage if you look at it that way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. Get rid of it.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Killing the game, Mark, is what it is. Moving on.
I was aiming to move on. Yeah.
Post-match, Roberto De Zerbi said Brighton were not in a brilliant moment or playing like a month or 2 months ago. Do you agree with that, Derren? And if so, why are Albion not brilliant or playing like they were a few months ago?
It's tricky. I saw an interview with Lewis Dunk, and he was saying that De Zerbi describes the team as feeling a bit sick at the moment, and they can't quite find the right cure to fix it. And for me, it's all down to the central midfield areas. They've lost two of their two best players. Earlier in the season, they were playing against teams that weren't quite up to speed, but now the Premier League is really getting intense, and you get down to the nitty gritty of it. They lost their two best players last season, and I think in that role where Caicedo and McAllister played, the players that Brighton have got at the moment just aren't as good. But which is there's no shame in that, because Caicedo's a unique player, 100 million plus. Chelsea and Liverpool were prepared to pay more than 100 million for him. He was a great player, and Brighton are still trying to work out their best midfield combination. Carlos Balibas, he's very young. He looks a talent. He can be brilliant, and then he'll make mistakes, and he's not quite so sharp. And so I think for me that is the crux of it.
Oh, they're also in a bit of a sticky patch at the moment. They've now won just one of the last 8 games in all competitions. But on the flip side, I've also seen that apparently Brighton are 3 points better off than they were last season. So does that mean Brighton are probably a bit of an enigma at the moment, Derren?
Yes, yeah. You're not quite sure what to expect. You knew last season that they were going to be consistent, and they went on a good run where they were dominating games and churning out the results, and you just don't get that feeling about the team at the moment. So I also think that they are doing very well as well. It's easy to say that they haven't won so much, but they're still in a strong position in the Europa League. I think they're going to be battling for the top 6, towards come the end of the season as well. So you have to say that that's still an impressive position for Brighton to be in. But it is a case at the moment that expectations are very high amongst fans, and if you just fall a little bit short, it's easy to sort of forget just how far they came so quickly. So it's you get used to the good things in life so easily. So I think the fans just need to be a little bit more realistic and think, actually 6th or 7th place is pretty good at the moment.
Well, they don't know how good they got it in comparison to, was it when they nearly went out of the Football League altogether, do they? Now,
well, that's right. Yeah.
Come on to it now. They're playing Ajax on Thursday. And yeah, they've won their last 2 Eredivisie games under caretaker manager Johan van Schip, scoring 6 and conceding just once. On the basis of that, Derren, do you think Ajax are a different side to the one Brighton played last month, which by all accounts, I thought Ajax were pretty terrible when they beat the Ajax?
Yes. Yeah. They looked a shadow of the great Ajax teams in the past. And yeah, you'd have to think that they've had a couple of good results, as you say, and on their home patch, I think they will be a different prospect for Brighton. They've got some good players within their team and some players that can create problems for Brighton, and they're going to have to be wary of that. But I think Ajax will be significantly better than the team that you saw at the Amex Stadium just 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I think Brighton are going to have to be at their best to get a result. And for me, Brighton have the players to score goals and create chances. It's just about that defence and keeping a clean sheet. They've only kept 1 clean sheet so far this season, which came against Ajax in the first leg. So yeah, if they get the defensive stuff right, I think they've got the players that can hurt them.
Very quickly, Derren, how do you see that one in Amsterdam going, and what would constitute a good result for Albion? It's all very much up for grabs in their group, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's really tight. I think a win would be a great result. We're just hearing from the press conference. They've got the press conference ongoing at the moment at the Johan Cruyff Arena, and Tariq Lamptey's out injured as well. So that left back spot is a real problem for Brighton, because Solly March is still injured, Tariq Lamptey is injured, and Pervis Estupiñán's been out since Aston Villa. But we're hearing he may be able to take some part in the match. So that is a blow. That is good news, but I don't think he's going to be fit enough to start. So you're going to be looking at Milner or Pascal Gross in a makeshift left back role. So yeah.
We shall see. Excellent. And you can keep up with all the latest on sussexworld.co.uk/sport. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be talking about Crawley Town and how our non-league clubs got on in the FA Cup first round. Saturday saw Crawley Town exit the FA Cup at the first round after a 3-2 loss at League Two rivals Notts County. But there was cause for optimism despite the result, wasn't there, Mark?
Yeah, there was. It was one of those results where I was watching it and I was like, oh, it looks like a pretty good performance. They could have nearly got a draw. They got it back to 2-2 through Danilo Orsi, his 2 goals. But when they went down, I thought, oh, right, okay, they've sort of thrown it away a little bit. But when I looked at all the reaction and Scott Lindsay's post-match and that, and the fan reaction, they played really well, and they only just lost to probably one of the best 2 teams, them and Mansfield, in League Two. So it gives them really good optimism, because they've obviously played Notts County away on a Tuesday night at the end of November. November the 28th, I think it is, a Tuesday night then. So really promising for them, and they're back scoring again. They had a pretty sort of lean October, as we all know, with results and scoring goals. But score 2 goals, and speaking of Scott Lindsay last night after the Aston Villa game, which we'll come onto in a minute, he was saying they played really well in Notts County, and he was really pleased. It's just a similar thing with the Aston Villa game, just soft goals, and it's just frustrated him a little bit. And that's what I think he's going to be working towards this weekend when they face Accrington at home.
Before we move on, congratulations and commiserations are in order in equal measure for Sussex non-league clubs Horsham and Worthing after this weekend's FA Cup first round ties. The heroic Hornets held League One outfit Barnsley to a thrilling 3-3 draw at Oakwell on Friday night, equalising with 9 minutes to go to force a replay at the Camping Well Community Stadium next week, which will be broadcast live on ITV4 and ITVX. Should Horsham pull off the mother of all upsets and beat Barnsley, they will visit League Two Sutton United in the second round in December. The Mackerel men, meanwhile, couldn't mark their first appearance in the first round since 1999 with a win, as they went down 2-0 at National League North side Alfreton. As I said, very best of luck to Horsham. I hope it'll be there on Tuesday next week. Yes, all the best. Move back to Crawley. The Reds then followed up the defeat at Notts County with a superb 3-2 home win over Aston Villa under-21s on Tuesday evening, which saw them advance to the knockout stages of the EFL Trophy. But you've kind of touched it on there a little bit, Mark. Crawley manager Scott Lindsay wasn't fully happy with their performance, was he?
No, he wasn't. He said he was pleased with a lot of it, but it was the defending and the 2 goals. The word he used, you can go back and watch his post-match. I think he said the word soft about 20 times. He said that they were just too soft in defence, and like the second goal, the ball came into the box and everybody just watched it. The ball just sail into the box kind of thing, and then the Aston Villa striker gone and fired home kind of thing. And he said he just wanted someone to run out and just attack the ball. And so it was just soft goals and defending. And as I referred to in the Notts County game as well, it was a game where they shouldn't have conceded 3 goals. And he said last night they're having to score 3 goals to win a game at the moment, and they shouldn't have to do that. So I think over the next few days, he was spending all day today watching Accrington Stanley, who they got on Saturday. You can't help but say Accrington Stanley, and then in the back of your head, who are they? Yeah. I really wanted to say it out loud, but I have now. But I think his main focus tomorrow and Friday at training will be defending and how they stop those sort of soft goals, as he said. But it's great to see them go through to the next round. It's the first time in 7 years that they've made it to the knockout stages. And I was chatting to John Barnett last night, who was doing the iFollow commentary, and he is a massive statistician. He's great. If you ever want to know who Crawley played on Boxing Day in 1985, he'll tell you, and he'll tell you the starting lineup. But he was saying that it was frustrating that time round 7 years ago because they were leading the group. They won the first 2 games, and they put out a really weak side to face Southampton. I think it was under-21s in the last game. They got hammered and finished second, and then had an away draw at Coventry. So, which they were never going to win, kind of thing, no matter what team they put out. So, but this time they're going to finish top of the group, so they will have a home draw in the next round. So it's really big. And even Jack Rolls last night in his post match, he scored 2 goals. He was great last night, Jack Rolls. He said he mentioned the word Wembley, kind of thing. He said it is a real carrot. Crawley have never been there, and funnily enough, Accrington Stanley have never been there, who they're playing Saturday. And I think I can't remember who the other team in the Football League. There's one other team in the Football League who've never played at Wembley. But it would be great if Crawley could get anywhere near there. They've got the talent to do it, and they play really good football. And if they come up against the under-21 side, they'll certainly match them for sort of skill and technique. I think it's just a case of just stopping those soft goals and not having to score 3 goals every game to win a game.
I must admit, I don't really follow the EFL Trophy, Mark, but do we have any indication as to who Crawley could play in the next round yet? Yeah,
it's still regionalised. So, but it's really annoying because and Scott Lindsay referred to this last night because we asked him about it, how frustrating it is. The last group game in Crawley's group, Crawley have played all their games, Charlton versus Brighton, is not until November the 21st. So all the groups aren't resolved until 2 weeks' time. So the draw won't be until then. Oh. So, but we had a quick look through the groups last night, and there were the likes of Tottenham under-21s, Fulham under-21s, Oxford United, MK Dons. So lots of really good teams still they could face, but they will be at home, which is the main thing for them. But it's I think it's a really important competition for Crawley this year because they've got a relatively small squad, but they're not using all of them in the league. He's got his first team, but this is the real opportunity for them to use all the players, give them minutes and give them first team experience. And so when they do have injuries, like Dion Conroy's going to be out for a while, Jay Williams was out on Saturday, that the players like Jack Rolls, it's a chance for them to show what they're worth. And Scott Lindsay said about Jack Rolls, he's given me a tough choice now for Saturday, which is really good to see. So.
Well, moving on to Saturday, as you mentioned, they host Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Looking to pick up their first League Two win since September. How do you see this one going, Mark? Again, it's another tough one. I think Accrington are currently in a playoff spot, so it's another tough assignment for them.
It is, yeah. They obviously got relegated from League One last year, so they're a team that's looking to bounce straight back up to League One. So it will be tough. It's very similar to Crewe. Crewe was scoring more goals, but it's they're playing them when they were in a similar position. So, and it's going to be down to stopping those soft goals, as Scott says. So they will score goals, Crawley, but there's just stopping those goals. So if Crawley are on their day, though, I still believe they can beat anyone in League Two. So if they can replicate a little bit of what they did on Tuesday night, I know it wasn't the same team. There'll be a lot more first teamers back. but maybe Jack Rolls comes in. What's interesting is the goalkeeper situation, because Corey Adai had been playing every league game. Luca Ashby-Hammond had played in all the cup games, but I'd assumed that Corey would be the first choice for the FA Cup game on Saturday, but it wasn't. It was Luca, and then Corey was the goalkeeper last night at Aston Villa. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a sea change in who the first choice goalkeeper is, although Scott Lindsay afterwards just said, we've got no number one. They're both my number ones, and either of them can play, kind of thing. But I think the fact that Corey played last night, we might see Luca Ashby-Hammond playing on Saturday. So that could be a big difference, because Corey's had his criticisms this year, but I think it's going to be. But I think they can do well, but they're still going to have, like I said, Dion Conroy's going to be out. He's got quite a long-term injury, I think. Jay Williams, it'd be interesting to see if he comes back. But Travis Johnson's done really well stepping into that defensive midfield role. Aaron Henry has. So they've got choices. So, but it'll be a good game. But I can see Crawley edging it after getting just that morale boosting win last night. I can see them edging it.
Well, coming on to that in a minute, we're going to have a stroll down the Steve Bone score prediction corner. And as you've started, Mark, Crawley Town, Atkinson Stanley, how do you see that one going?
I'm going to go 2-1 Crawley. And it will be a soft goal that they let in, but I think they'll have enough in attack. Danilo Orsi's on hot form. Clyde Lolos looks good. So I think, a goal each from Orsi and Lolos, I think, on Saturday.
Derren, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Crawley, like Mark said, that they've got some good attacking play at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1, I think.
Come on, you Reds.
Yeah, come on, the Reds. And looking in the here and now, Ajax Brighton, Derren, how do you see that one going?
I'm going to go for a 2-2 in Ajax. I think Ajax are going to be much better, and Brighton's defence has been a bit shaky of late. So I think there's going to be goals.
Mark, how do you see that one going in Amsterdam?
With Ajax sort of coming back, we're not into form, but with their recent results, I think it will be a draw like Derren, but I'm going to go 1-1.
Very quickly, Derren, is a draw a good result for Brighton?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be a disaster. I think the win would really put them in a fantastic position to qualify. So that's obviously what they're going there for, and they're more than capable of getting the win. But I just think in those defensive areas, I think they're a little bit off at the moment. So, but a draw would be a decent result and keep them in with a shout. Yeah, it's a very close group. Yeah.
And looking ahead to Sunday, Brighton are at home to Sheffield United. A win is a must, Derren, surely.
I think it is. Yeah, they want to sort of push on and keep as high up in the table as possible and keep challenging for that top six. And if anything, just to keep the fans a bit. They're getting a little bit restless with these games that they think they should win against these lower teams. So I'm going to go for another draw, though. I'm going to go for a 1-1 for.
Controversial.
Mark,
Thursday, Sunday thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can see why Derren said that. I think Brighton will edge this. It won't be easy. I think it's going to be 2-1. Obviously, Sheffield United will have morale boosting first win last week. So if it was away, I predict either a draw or a loss for Brighton this week. But because it's at home, I think they might just edge it 2-1.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, chaps. And obviously, best of luck to Brighton over the weekend on a Thursday. You can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we've talked about today at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. And you can watch more excellent videos on shotstv.com and Freeview channel 276. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all next week.
Come on, you Reds.
Oh, we've gone dark.